Welcome to Mercurius Being. I'm Amy Jensen and I'm here with your astro update for the Sagittarius new moon. Before we dive into this lunation, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has liked and subscribed to the channel. And I must admit, I was a little overwhelmed and just very excited about the reception that the last video got. And then of course I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, that was the high point. Don't come back. It's not ever going to be that good again. So I joke, but anyway, I'll just keep doing what I do, which is to bring in a lot of different information from a lot of different sources in my own way and interpretation. And I just hope that you continue to enjoy the ride. So that said, going into the Sagittarius new moon, it will be exact at 4:57 p.m. Central Time on November 23rd. Here is the chart, and once again, it's going to look different from where you are, orientation-wise. There is what we call a locomotive pattern to this chart, beginning with the Sun Moon, a little party with Venus, Mercury, joining it in Sag, joining the lunation in Sag, and then the end of the locomotive pattern is the Mars in Gemini retrograde. The next lunation, the full moon in Gemini, which will occur December 8th, has the Mars conjunct the moon in Gemini. So I just, let's just not rule Mars out of this, I guess, is where I'm going with this. And I've kind of mentioned Mars several times over many of the last lunations, going back the last few months, really. It just seems to always kind of be in there, adding its energy. So I interpret this as having this opportunity to really review our agency, and in the sign of Gemini, reviewing our ability to bring together a lot of different elements and gather information before we assert our energy, if that makes sense. So a locomotive shape, just like a train, starts slowly, and then it builds momentum, and then it builds more momentum, and then, as you know, with a train, it has a lot of power, and then it's very hard to stop. And so I just have this image of Sagittarius season starting off, kind of chill, really, and Jupiter is trining. Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, and it has a nice harmonious aspect to the sun and moon at this new moon. So it's got really a lot of support of its rulership and kind of a clarity to the energies of, sometimes it's obscured when we have a lunation. It might be a Sagittarius new moon, but there can be a ton of other energies involved. So I just had this idea of it just being a little more purely Sagittarian, and then the momentum of the season will grow up until we get to the solstice in December. I also came up with this idea, or just had this image of a puzzle, and like the puzzle pieces scattered all over the table. And kind of the idea of this season having a lot of possibilities and having a lot of potential. Seeing things in a different way is another thought that came to me. So not only thinking of a puzzle as far as the image that's imprinted on each of the pieces, but then like if you switch into your the right side of the brain and just see the image, the shape of the puzzle piece instead of the image, so seeing in a different way. And then for some reason, I even got the idea of using your non-dominant hand for different things, just to put yourself into a different experience and experiment with your brain. Flip upside down into an inversion. And if you're not a yoga person, that can either be just doing a forward fold or anything, looking through different lenses, looking through different colors. Just widening our viewpoint. All right. So Mars at this lunation does have a nice trine to Saturn, which does rule trains. Saturn rules foundation and structure. And so there is a nice energy of support to restructure and gather information with our agency and our assertiveness and our energy. Mars has a biquintile to Pluto in the sign of Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. So again, there's kind of a creativity surrounding this restructuring. And again, just trying things out in different ways, putting the pieces together differently. And I guess, again, I'm thinking the image of the train, when the train goes by and you're sitting at the train tracks in your car, which is ruled by Mars, there's nothing you can do but wait. There is nothing you can do but wait. But while you're waiting, you can turn off the engine of your car and you can release into the waiting and then imagine, okay, well, now I've been delayed on this route because the train's delayed me. Do I change routes? How do I change the rest of the schedule to accommodate the delay that's occurred? So it's just really being more flexible and just being able to adapt to some different things that maybe you hadn't planned. All right. So that said, Venus and Mercury are going to be visible in the sky here. Venus will be visible the second week of December, Mercury will, and then Venus will be visible mid-December. So they'll be far enough away from the sun. They'll be evening stars, so the sun will set, and then you'll see Mercury and Venus up there. So it's just, they've had their conjunction with the sun, they've had their meeting with the sun, so they're ready to stretch out a little bit and become visible again and connect with that energy. So Mercury is the energy of communication, and Venus is the energy of balance and harmony in the sign of Sagittarius, which is an expansive energy. And I will actually, let's flip into that. Let's flip into the energy of Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is expansive, optimistic, philosophical. It is the symbol of the arrow. So it's the idea of shooting the arrow past where you can see. It's expanding your mind past your usual mode of operation. So opposite third house Gemini. Gemini is all about the people you see every day, the people you interact with every day, short journeys, short things you can study quickly. And Sagittarius is like moving yourself past that and a little beyond what you are used to. It's about being a pilgrim or taking a pilgrimage, being a stranger in a strange land. And it's Sagittarius says a lot about beliefs. It is about believing in something bigger than yourself or having a set of beliefs. But at the same time, when one becomes too set in one's beliefs, you need to take a pilgrimage, be a pilgrim, go beyond that, expand the real estate of your mind once again, and see things from a different perspective. This is what is happening today. I'm going to jump all over. So I can't remember if it was in a Gary Lockman book or a Stephen Forrest book, and I looked through the books last night, but I couldn't find exactly the direct quote. But one of them mentioned something about the sense of perspective in art and consciousness, like literally expanding through, climbing up a mountain, looking in the distance and then seeing, the village in the distance, and it's small in the distance, and then understanding perspective and what a shift that was in the development of art and then also in the development of our consciousness. So before that, art was, there was no perspective and things were flat, and, you could just see things on that level. But until that happened and there was an expansion, what that unlocked within the mind. So that's very Sagittarian, is seeing something from a distance, seeing the big picture, extracting meaning from things, which led me to think of the mutable cross of the signs of Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. And so this is all me, so I don't want to falsely credit anyone else. But so Sagittarius, that pilgrim, the pilgrimage, expanding the mind and the awareness, and that expanded view leading to looking at things and extracting different meaning from that information. And Gemini is where you gather information. You're gathering information. You're zipping around. You're gathering experiences. You're conversing with different people. I always think about Gemini as, let's get everybody at the same table. This would be probably horrible in today's times, but what if you did? What if you got everyone at the same table from all political points of view, from all religious points of view, from no religious points of view, from your spiritualist to your materialist to, everything, from your anarchists to your, CEOs, and have them civilly exchange ideas. But if that could happen, and if people could, what could be built out of that? But that's all Geminis, gathering all these different informations. So Gemini, you're gathering information. The next mutable sign, Virgo, is you're discerning and you're analyzing. You're taking all that data and then you're compiling it, and you're getting rid of the stuff that's useless and keeping the stuff that's useful. And then you're making the information more useful and being of service. You're taking your talents and sharing them with people. It's like, okay, I can really be of use in this capacity. That's a Virgo thing. There's also a little element of health in Virgo, not more than a little in Virgo, about your particular patterns and your daily patterns and your health and your diet and your well-being. And I'm just mentioning that because we'll come back to that in Pisces. So after Virgo, we get into Sagittarius, where you're gaining that broader perspective, assigning meaning to information. Then you're gathering information, usually into a set of beliefs in Sagittarius, an organizing systems of thought. And so this organization of systems of thought into philosophy and religion, medicine. So whereas Virgo might be your own beliefs and your daily habits, and you see how they affect you. So then in Sagittarius, they're kind of gathered, and then like, this is medicine. So you can see already where I'm going with this. This is great. We need all of these things. They all serve their purpose. But then if some of them become too confined, or like, hey, this is the book of belief, and then it's shut, and that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Don't question it, right? That's the danger of Sagittarius. So that would be shadow Sagittarius. Okay, and this is my writing. It's shooting the arrow of thought, going to the mountaintop and pondering. Okay, so those are all Sagittarius things. So we get to the last part of the cross of mutability, which is Pisces, which is an overarching unity to everything. Pisces is where we just melt into the ocean of existence. We realize we're part of everything. Unity, consciousness, oneness. So it's a oneness of existence in which all of these processes and experiences unfold, and you're beyond duality. So then instead of having the right and the left and this religion and that religion, again, it doesn't matter. Those are just two sides of the same stick. And then you get into Pisces and unity consciousness. It's above all, and it sees all as part of the experience. One time you're on this side, the next time you're on that side, which I tell a lot of people in my life, when we all hold too tightly to a belief, it's like, okay, well, be prepared, because next time you might be on the other side of that particular belief. So beyond duality and all is unity. And then instead of going to the mountaintop and pondering and sending that arrow out to the mountaintop, in Pisces, you are the mountaintop. Transcending meaning into being. So that was a lot of information. Okay, physically, Sagittarius rules the liver, the hips, the thighs, and the blood. It rules Thursday, Jupiter, Sagittarius, Pisces, rule Thursday. So this is a quote from Adam Gainsburg. Sagittarius is the domain of consciousness seeking and expanding into higher intelligence or spirituality. It represents an upward and outward type movement in consciousness where one's evolution requires that one discover how one is meant to be drawn higher. Sagittarius self-realization is the experience of an inner aha, a full awakening to one's innate nature as spiritual essence, and the embodied realization beyond the mental of one's direct connection to spiritual light. Medically, Sagittarius depicts the sign's association with the integration of the instinctual and higher centers of the brain and the movement forward toward new horizons. So the movement forward, the hips and the legs. Integrating new and old experiences, and the brain distilling two sets of information, past emotional experiences and current intellectual information and sensation. So Sagittarius rules the hips and the thighs, which are the things that move us forward. They're the largest muscles in the bodies, and cerebrum, particularly the left hemisphere, and the reasoning powers. Integration of the endocrine and nervous system to give a meaningful response to stimuli. The locomotion, lower spinal cord, and the ability of the eyes to focus. All right, so that's Sagittarius. Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, and Jupiter is the function of expansion in the body. It connects with a higher reality so that we can frame our life more widely. Symbolizes the urge to be expansive, philosophical, and generous, expands our awareness, expanding the big picture. It also has the ability to inflame as an infection or a wound. This is during transit. And it also is our ability to think bigger and encompasses the notion of acceleration. It might be what comes easy for us, Jupiter in the chart. I also think of it, Jupiter, as the energy of the Ganesha principle, which is the elephant deity in Hinduism, and he removes obstacles. But he usually places an obstacle in one's path and encourages one to move toward that, and the gaining of, I would say, morale through one's ability to remove one's own obstacle with the energy and attunement of Jupiter or Ganesha, that expansiveness. So Jupiter can also be this little like niggling doubt in your chart. So it's where you've got like scores of expansion and ability. And like I said, things may come easily, but also things it might even become easy for you, but then you have like that imposter syndrome. You have to like prove to yourself that you can do it. So sometimes I'll say with somebody's chart, there might be a little like zing to their self-worth where Jupiter is, because you feel like you kind of have to you have to climb that mountain. You have to maybe study that course, whatever it is that you're like, okay, if I just had that one little piece, then I'd really feel like I have it. And of course, all of these answers are within us, but there are some times where they are these external experiences that we need to bring in and integrate with our internal experiences to remove that obstacle or that doubt. All right, also Jupiter can expand a lot. Sometimes it just brings a lot of allotness. So just knowing that too much of a good thing with Jupiter. And I think that's all I am going to go in with Jupiter. The tarot associations with Sagittarius and Jupiter. So for Sagittarius, it is the Temperance card, and this is from Kim Krans's Wild Unknown tarot book. Healing and renewal. The great blue heron remains calm and peaceful as she blends the opposing elements of fire and water. The temperance card asks you to be a moderator, much like the heron. Focus on cooperation and compromise. If you've been excessive in one aspect of your life, practice self-restraint and moderation now. You'll find a new sense of healing and balance from bringing a little harmony back into your life. And for Jupiter, it is the Wheel of Fortune. And I remember always one reader saying, the Wheel of Fortune, you can't win if you don't spin. Simple but effective. Destiny, change of course. Whether day or night, the Wheel of Fortune is always in motion. Some call it fate, others destiny. It's possible to go for months or years without feeling its presence. But when this card appears, the eye of the wheel is fixed upon you. Don't be surprised if there's a change of course heading your way, something you'd least expect. Whatever happens to you during this time, know that it is bringing you closer to your life's purpose. All right, and again, that's just the generalized energy of Jupiter and Sagittarius, not saying that, specifically Wheel of Fortune or Temperance is going to hit your chart and that's going to be it. That's always individual, but that's just an overriding energy associated with Sagittarius and Jupiter. So where this is occurring in the heavens right now, Mercury and Venus are conjunct the fixed star Antares, which means anti-Eris, or the rival of Mars/Eris. It has the energy of Mars-Jupiter, Antares does. So it has kind of the energy, Mercury and Venus in Sagittarius, that there's a little fire going on behind the ability to communicate and to balance and harmonize. So like I said, this kind of all starts a little slower, and then the energy is going to build. What was I going to say about it's in the constellation of Scorpius, and where Venus, Mercury, and the Sun and the Moon are at this lunation. Venus and Mercury are really close to Antares, which is one of the 4 fixed stars. There are many fixed stars, but it's the 4 royal stars. Associated with the directions, we've got of the west, of the archangels, Archangel Oriel on Antares, Aldebaran so that is in Scorpius, Antares is. It's really the heart of the scorpion. Aldebaran, which is in the constellation Alpha Tauri. Regulus is the heart of the lion. And then Fomalhaut, which is the mouth of the fish. So those 4 royal stars, traditionally ruling the directions associated with the archangels Oriel, Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel. Sometimes also associated with the 4 evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and the directions. And these 4 stars used to align with the equinoxes and the solstices. About 5,000 years ago, Antares used to mark the energy of the autumnal equinox. The Sun will conjunct Antares approximately December 1st. And just because, so it's not the sign of Scorpio, it's not the sign of Sagittarius, but just the constellation of Scorpius. The Sun is only in this area of the heavens between November 22nd to November 22nd to November 29th. And I just thought it was kind of interesting because so Scorpius and Orion are enemies, and NASA just sent up the Orion spacecraft, and it is within 81 miles of the moon's surface. 5 days after it was launched, it'll be in orbit for 6 days, and then returning to Earth December 11th, which I thought was also kind of interesting because 5 and 6 equal 11th, and then when it said December 11th, I don't know, you can make what you want with those numbers. But I just thought it was kind of interesting because Orion the hunter was killed by a scorpion, but that's because he got a little too full of himself. He was an excellent hunter, going around killing things and then saying, you know, I could pretty much kill anything. And so then Mother Earth or Gaia sent the scorpion to sting and kill Orion. And then they're placed in the heavens so that neither Scorpius, the constellation, and Orion, the constellation, are in the heavens at the same time. But I just thought it was interesting that, you know, we just sent up this spacecraft called Orion during this time when the sun is in the constellation of Scorpius. And the Scorpion constellation, either way, is seen in Washington, D.C. If you're in the Capitol building, Scorpius sets over the Pentagon. So there was a little part of me that was like, just kind of curious, like what that was all about. But make of that what you will. I just thought it was kind of interesting because just how things kind of pop up. All right. Last thing about Mercury and Mars are both out of bounds right now as well. So there's a lot of strength in the Mars in Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is out of bounds to the south, and Mars is out of bounds to the north. So that means they're just out of the path of the sun. And so they're a little wilder, a little stronger. Again, so there's something about our communication. There's something about our agency. So just bringing these pieces together, people. So just bring the pieces together and consider and think and allow this time to look at things differently and bringing a sense of meaning to things differently than you had in the past. Okay, I'm going to check my notes. Where are we at? That's always a good question, isn't it? Okay, the other thing that's interesting is that's in the area of the heavens. In the area of the heavens, the nakshatra of Anuradha. And Anuradha, and I don't know why I never got this before, it means another Radha. And Radha was the consort of Krishna. And so Radha, it also means another success. Radha has to do with love and tenderness and compassion and devotion. And the Shakti, or the power of this area of the heavens, is Radhana Shakti. And Radhana is the power of worship. So Krishna and Radha is all about love. It's just like the beloved. And it's really connecting kind of human love with, divine love. It's just love and compassion, and it's also magnetism and charisma, but it's really the power of devotion. And so not only devotion of like, oh, I'm only, I'm devoted to something above me, and it's above me, and it's better than me. It's like, well, yes, there's something bigger than all of us, however we place that into our belief system and in consciousness and whatever feels good to your heart and your mind, whether that's nature or what kind of divine this is, but just something bigger than one. So there's a sense of ascension. So we have that ability, and thinking of sending that arrow up, into the heavens, into the mountaintop, onto the mountaintop, making the long plan on the mountaintop. So going beyond. But then there's really an idea of bringing it back into the body and being embodied. So there's an ascension factor, but also a descension factor, because what use is all of that above if we're not going to bring it down into this beautiful vehicle that we each have, and using our beautiful vehicles of our legs and our hips to go forward and, into the world and experience the world. And so I thought that was really cool, and I don't know why I never got that before. And then the deity that rules this area of the heavens is Mitra, and Mitra is it's one of the names of the sun, the solar sun, and it's the god of friendship. And so the energy of friendship and cooperation and the ability to develop and sustain friendships is part of this energy. And if we think about Sagittarius and that idea of belief system and but the beliefs, but like expanding one's beliefs, right? And being a pilgrim and being the stranger and meeting new people. Oh, that was another thing. I think that was in my notes that I skipped about Jupiter. I think this is a Max Heindel saying, but I can't remember. But like, hail fellow, well met would be a Jupiter saying. Of course, now I skip over Jupiter and Sagittarius sports would be like horse racing and, you know, track and field, something that is a good sporting outing. It would probably involve an archery, of course, fresh air and getting out there, but all well and good, well-spirited, you know. Whereas, you know, maybe Mars sports would be more active, like boxing, you know, a little more contact going on. So I digress. So there's something about sporting and creating with other people and getting out there and expanding and meeting other people and meeting new people. So there's something about communication, I would say, with this, with all of that Mercury, the out of bounds Mercury, the Mars in Gemini, and then we'll be having the Gemini full moon, Gemini, the polarity to Sagittarius. So we're up in that throat chakra, the color blue, just balancing and calming, and as you can tell, I'm kind of excited. I guess there's probably some excitement about this communication, but there's a lot of creativity. Sagittarius is in the sacral center. That's the area that's ruled, the Svadhisthana chakra. It's the Sva is soul or life force, and then Adhisthana is the seat or abode. So like this seat of creativity within us, and the ability to create and flow in our creativity, and then to express that creativity. Okay, I hope that makes sense. We'll see if I can bring it around here. During this time, you know, seeking that connection with above, some kind of knowingness, something that's beyond you, but knowing that it's not only beyond you, that it's within you, that it's all around you, and that we really only have to ground into our human experience to have kind of a transcendent experience. But to do that, thinking of kind of emptying ourselves, maybe emptying ourselves of all of the old beliefs. It's kind of, I think I mentioned cleaning out as far as Scorpio last month, you know, and cleaning out the basement. And for some reason now, thinking of cleaning out a drawer, and how, you know, you might put some of those same things back in the drawer because it's like, oh yeah, I still use that, and this belief still works. But cleaning it all out, first of all, and don't just clean it out and then, you know, keep all the junk in, you know, the little fuzz and the hair and all the stuff that's in the drawer. Like, clean the whole drawer out and then examine what you put back into the drawer of your mind or your heart. Because some of those beliefs, perhaps, let's explore that during Sagittarius season, perhaps some of these beliefs are outgrown, outworn, and maybe they aren't. Maybe they are the same beliefs that you still hold dear, but that you see in a different perspective, and that they still can ignite creativity and passion within you, but without there having to be a winner and a loser, like having it be, you know, hail fellow, well met. Let's have it be, we're all in this sporting event together. And seeing each of our talents and beliefs and respecting them, and just understanding it as another part of the whole, another piece of the puzzle, another way to put the puzzle together. All right, I think that is it. And I hope that we begin our Sagittarius season with this creative zest and excitement. And I will be back in a couple weeks to talk about the polarity between Gemini and Sagittarius. All right, until then.